Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Today, Elise and I thought we would share a closed podcast on all things like generational trauma, cycle breaking, all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Specifically, like talking about how our triggers can be largely around the trauma we went through as children now that we're parents. Elise, can you tell me a little bit about how important this topic is to you and where you started this work?
Great. So to say where I started this work is probably not like it was more just a spiritual timeline that evolved by itself. By me starting to work on my health and healing, and then it all just became a part of that journey. However, I think it's so important because many of us don't realize that we actually are carrying patterns, behaviors, thoughts, and beliefs from our foundational years all the way through to adulthood. And a lot of the time we haven't healed those, and that's why sorry about that. The bird's always joining the chat, and it's really frustrating. But a lot of the time we don't realize that we're carrying these triggers, and then when our child does something, we become triggered by them, and we don't realize that that could be coming from our own inner child wound. So that is a really large part of my coaching and healing journey of my own. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I feel
How
like
about yourself?
maybe, how about myself? I feel like maybe before I go into depth with my own personal experiences, maybe we can unpack the meanings of some of the terminology that we've used because we've used some big terms really quick today. If you're
Yep.
listening and you are unsure what we're talking about. So, firstly, the last concept that you brought up, the inner child wound. What would you
Hmm.
say? How would you describe that in that context?
That's a good question. The inner child wound is the trauma that we, or the triggers that we carry, or the thoughts and beliefs we carry about ourselves that may have developed within our own childhood that many of us, like I said, don't realize we're carrying. And a lot of the time, when we would work, say, in a healing space to uncover that, it would be more so like a shadow work or really reflective practice of like learning where has that pattern come from and how can we release it or redirect it in a more healthier way. Would that be your understanding of inner child being?
Yeah, I think because my journey has been so like it hasn't been linear to like get to the point of where I'm now and uncovering all of the traumatic things that happened to me and understandings, I would actually say the inner child healing is like, even though I'm now like big and I'm like responsible and all of that, if there's a block to my play, to me having fun, to me finding joy, there's a wound there. And
Mm-hmm.
without making like every single day of your life, minute of your life, a healing session, it's actually
Mm.
like if I can't be 100% authentically me, there's a wound.
Yeah.
And because I'm
Yeah.
so obsessed with this work, it's like, okay, there's a wound around me needing to stop during the week before my period, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
hate that about me, but at the same time, I have this condition that makes me have to stop every week before my period. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably a good
Yeah.
thing in retrospect because otherwise I probably would never stop. But at the same time, it
Yeah.
hurts my heart and my soul because I'm like, I don't want to stop. And that's what I was like
Yeah.
as a child, right? Um,
Mm.
yes, I am diagnosed with ADHD in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, yeah, I think that that's the first thing
Welcome
we
to
have
the
to remember.
spicy group chat over here.
Yeah. Um,
I think
yeah,
what you just said so important to acknowledge is that, okay, what I said sounds really like doom and gloom, or like this shadow work, this healing. That's really, and I think there's parts to healing. There is the part that feels hard and shadowy. And then once you've done that work, it's intuitive, it's authentic, it's playful, it's joyful, it's lighter,
Not
it's more
always.
freeing, it's more
Sorry, not
connected.
always though. Like it still goes in
No,
ebbs and flows. It's not linear.
totally. Yeah, totally healing is not linear, but like when you're first starting out your journey, it's going to feel very shadowy because you have to do that reflective practice. Once you've reached that space of where there's more joy and more flow and more authenticity, you already have those tools from doing the shadow work, we hope, to be able to reflect on, okay, my child, Steve, will just say, did this the other day, and he is the same age as when I first felt that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't seen, that I wasn't heard. When my child doesn't listen to me, I'm reacting because I've never felt seen and heard before. Nobody listens to me, is what probably comes up, right? Anyway, I think that's kind of where we were trying to talk today about, like, where does it come up in our motherhood as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the the most important thing that I would really like to share is that like your child being a mirror isn't a bad thing. And that's why I like to say it first
Mm.
up, like if you're not finding motherhood fun, playful, joyful.
Let's get rid of the Zoom for a reason.
Are you still on there?
It's still on. Yeah, it just, I don't know when recording or stopped and then you disappeared off
I was like, like a real
the wall too.
huh?
You really have to say something really, really fucking cool too. And it went record Zoom.
I'll see if I can get back on. So you're still on there?
Yeah, I'm on.
Was it really?
Yeah.
We need a break here.
Oh, fucking hell. All right, I'll just stay on until you.
Okay, I'll get off the phone.
Hi.
Hello, it kept telling me.
Hi. How are you? Did it kick you off?
Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I think it was, I can just pick up. Okay. So if you're not finding your parenting journey fun, playful, joyful, uh, intuitive, with ease, and it's the opposite to that, like all the harder, shadowy feelings, then potentially that's a sign to go and get some support within your parenting. And I know that sounds
Mm-hmm.
cliche because like parenting isn't meant to be fun. Society sold us this lie that parenting is meant to be hard, frustrating,
Mm.
overwhelming, painful, etc., etc., etc. But if we actually just ground ourselves, work out what we need, and actually support ourselves, our whole entire world can be different. Would you agree with that, Elise?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And I think what's been coming up for me a lot lately is, why did it do that? Um, it was like echoing my own voice back. Sorry. Weird. Um,
We have a
I
tech
don't know what's
gremlin.
happening. Yeah, it loves me. I think what's coming up for me a lot lately is to be able to show like that I am truly have done some healing work and that like to really acknowledge myself of how much growth I have done. Because so often we can get stuck in this loop of heal, 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 like develop, develop, grow, grow. It's important to really acknowledge the little moments of growth too, because like it has been a whole journey for me to really learn that, like, why my child triggers me and why I'm triggered by them and vice versa. And my kid will call me out on it all the time. But mum, you said, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, bud. You're right. Like, because they often know that, like, yeah, they would just like tell me, like, mum, that's not what we're supposed to say or do. And I know that that is the moment where I have to go, okay, go reflect, go regulate, figure out why this mirror's come up here. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's not to say that like you're perfect, right? Because perfect's a lie. So like
totally,
when
totally.
yeah, when one of your boys say to you that you made me feel in this negative way, whatever way that is, it's irrelevant right
Mm.
now. How, like, does your body still tense up? Like, your nervous system still feel like they want to fight or flight that feeling? Or how does that make you feel?
That's a powerful question. Um, I would say for me now, not really. I don't get that guilt or that shame or that like "Arr," anymore. But like I would say often and now just kind of would be in like that repair space where I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. If I do get that like sense of anger, frustration, or rage, then I do have to go remove myself and regulate and come back to repair. But on the general scheme of things, I would say no, I don't really get triggered as often. But like sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll be like, why is nobody listening to me? And then I
Yeah.
realize it's because little Elise never felt seen or heard. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a mirror. Yeah. And how would you describe, like, if you could tell somebody that had no idea about this work, what the mirror
Mm.
actually is, what would you say?
The mirror is when your child does a behavior and a feeling or an emotion comes up in that moment that might be triggering. As I just said, maybe for me, it's sometimes anger, rage, frustration, or like that snappy feeling. Maybe you want to go and cry or scream. Like any emotion that you're having in that moment is a reflection. So your child is always going to reflect what you need to work on, which is why we call it a mirror because mirrors reflect. So in that moment, we need to work with you or with
Sorry, I just got the
ourselves
Shania
as your
Twain song.
coach.
In that moment. Sorry.
From now on,
Yeah.
we will
Sorry,
not
that's
be
like a
singing
thing.
on today's episode.
I'm sorry. Okay.
And that's the
So
ADHD coming out right now.
continue on.
I
Sorry, I
love
just
it.
couldn't. It was the way that you did it. I was like,
That's the
oh my God.
playful, joyful part of the healing is where you can just sing out loud and nobody cares. Who cares? No one cares. Just sing out
When
loud.
your headphones were on a like a volume that wasn't too loud when I started screeching like a cat.
Why were you screeching like a cat?
When I sing, don't I sound like a cat?
No, I don't think
I've
so.
totally I've totally derailed us. Okay, so back to the mirror.
Back to the mirror. So for me, so for example, like I said, I'll keep using this example because it is a wound that I have worked on and continue to sort of have to reflect on sometimes, but not as
Yeah.
often. I feel like the more I've done this work, the more I'm like, okay, you're feeling a certain way, we can work through this, and you're like able to rewire, recenter yourself. But for example, if my child or children are running a total muck in the house, kids bounce off the walls, they're crazy, they're loud, and I need them to get ready for school. And I'm trying to keep them on track. Again, to ADHD kids. We call it staying on the train track. Like you've hopped off, your train's derailed. We need to go this way, but you're going that way. So we go hop back on the train track, one job
That's
at a
a
time. What do we
preschool.
need to do?
I used to do that at preschool. So I
Hmm.
love that you're still doing that. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like you take the educator out of this childcare center, but not the tools out of the educator.
Yeah, I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
so in that moment, I can choose to scream, yell, react, which to be fair, this morning was I was a bit like, why is no one getting ready? Like, come on now, you have one job to do. And I can feel my own parents coming up in me. Like I said, I'm like my own mother. No offense, Mo. I'm sure you're not listening, but if you are, I some
Sorry.
you trigger
Should
me and
we
you
laugh?
already know it. I would just tell my mum, like, you're being annoying. Stop. She would tell me the same. It's fine. But in that moment, I can react. I could scream and yell. I could go, oh, why is no one listening to me? Or I could go, everything's okay. I know you feel unseen and unheard right now, and no one's doing what you've asked them to do because little Elise never felt seen and heard, right? So that's the mirror, right? If I react, I'm reacting to the trigger and not reflecting in the mirror. So,
I like that.
yeah, that just came out of me. How good is it? I didn't even think about that. Unscripted podcast today. Um, so I could get
Plug that
reactive. I
up.
couldn't get
I'm
triggered.
sorry.
That's okay. I love that people will watch this and just see the authentic version of us. This is what
This
we
is
sound like when we have our personal private phone calls
this
and
is
not
because we
recorded on
haven't been on,
something.
yeah, we haven't been on a 5 hour call before the chat. So we're like still.
Still dysregulated like our 5-year-old selves. Yeah. Great. Love that for us. But then
Okay.
in the moment, now I've learned to just take a deep breath. And it doesn't all look like, again, I want to preface what Mel said before because it was great before it decided to brood her off and let her back on again. We will figure out somehow how to collaborate the intro and the outro. Um, I don't know how we're going to upload the two links, but we'll work it out. Elise is not tech savvy. We'll work it out. But anyway, I could, in that moment, do I like perfection, like Mel said, is not a thing. Perfect doesn't exist. So occasionally you are going to get snappy. You are going to yell. Sometimes even at school pickup, I'm sure, I don't know if the mums realize, but I'm like you could probably hear me doing it because I'm like, don't react. Don't, it's fine. Everything's fine.
I was thinking about school pickup, just the other day in relation to like shadow work. I actually think that I have trauma around school pickup and like friends, mums telling me what to do, and that's why I'm such a weirdo at school pickup. Like I
And
actually
why you
think
don't
that's a
like being
thing.
told what to do by others as well.
Not really, do you?
Maybe. I don't know. I think my, I don't know. I think I've also had like a thing around school for a longer time. I don't really care anymore because, like, whatever. Whoever likes me. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But for the longest time, because I dealt with a lot of shame and judgment around my motherhood journey, I just assumed that everyone was doing that. That was
Yeah.
like before the
Yeah.
healing work, before
School pickup is such a
that.
short interaction too. I remember having a meltdown once and you actually coached me through it. You were like, it's such a short interaction where like there's kids coming and going and like it's not really like
Mm.
a friendship. It's more like just acquaintances. But we like tend to hold on to those short interactions more than we would like a longer one, which is really dumb, isn't it? Like, so if you're listening
Yeah,
along,
I think it's because our children spend all day with these people's children, right?
yeah, yeah,
But what I mean by a short interaction, like you can build like friendships or like a group of mums you might chat to every day at the afternoon. Maybe they are becoming your friend or have already, and that's fantastic too. But when I say like it's a short interaction, what I mean is if it's not a mum or dad that you have built a long-term friendship with at school pickup, or they're not like a part of your village, but they're just a short-term interaction, what I mean is that person in reality, when I was going through the whole carrying shame and judgment, I had to really coach my own self through. If I believe truly that these people are judging me, what are they actually like? And obviously, it's my own thought in my own mind that they are. They may or may not even be. I don't know that. I've just made up that story in my own mind first, right? So I've had to coach myself through this story in my own mind of like, just because other people judge you doesn't mean everybody does, for a number one. For a number two, just because everyone around your motherhood journey, like one or two or three people have been unsafe for you or made you feel fight, flight, freeze, run away from the situation because it's not safe is probably one of the other things I had to like work through. And like, hopefully, this is helping you with what you just said in your scenario. Are they, does that mean that everybody around my motherhood journey is unsafe or around my inner child wound is unsafe? Or is that just that one person that made me feel away unsafe?
Yeah, yeah, I
Do you
agree.
know?
Like we take, I think what you're trying to say is like we sometimes take, and I've been guilty of this very much so, like where we take one interaction or one judgment, one bout of shame, and we almost take it to the group chat and think that everybody in the whole entire world thinks the same thing.
Well,
But it's
then,
just
yeah,
one
because
thing.
our brain, um, our brain stores negative before it actually does the rewiring of the positive, which is why the healing work is hard. It is not linear, is heavy sometimes, is hard because our brain stores negative emotions and thought patterns first. So like
Do you
our
think
brain will
do you think
go,
we like do you think us being coaches, sorry to interrupt you, do you think us as
"Hmm,
coaches though are rewiring that in our own children's brains? Because I know like when my children say certain
mm-hmm,
things, sometimes it's more positive than I ever have been until like the last few years with this work.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. That's why I said like before, like my kid will call me out on something or say, Mum, you shouldn't talk
Yeah.
to your Actually, something the other day, I think they bought me an Audi for Mother's Day and they all were like, Mum's so squishy mellow now, Mum. And it obviously it makes you look bigger because you're all puffy and baggy and like even now I'm wearing a puffier jacket, right? And one of the kids jumped on me and I went, oh, it's like you squished me or whatever. And we were saying something about, I don't know what came up now because it obviously like was just a flying comment. But like one of my kids goes, Mum, you shouldn't talk about yourself like that ever.
Oh bless. Oh bless.
And I was like, and that's what I mean by like lately I'm really being shown the proof of the pudding. Like
Yeah.
everything
And
that's coming
that's
up for me is like the
yeah.
healing
Yeah.
work is done. Or like I don't think it's ever completely done because like I said, sometimes in the morning I'm triggered or sometimes after school I'm like, can we just get out of here? Um, like I'm sometimes triggered. It's just that I now, like you said, have already started to re-break the generational cycle, rewire, reparent myself through reparenting my children or parenting my children. And you're obviously doing the same. Like once you, the way you speak to them, like because you tell me all the time, like, your son said stuff about like chakra healing and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, well, none of us were
Yeah.
really
I also
probably allowed to embrace that part of ourselves as kids either.
yeah, yeah. I also think just like, and I know there's a lot in the media about this right now. I don't want to like sound like I'm giving a lecture, but I also think just the power of listening to children and adults and
Hmm.
intuition is
I'm just getting
so different compared to what we were used to, if that makes any sense. Because I
hmm
think for such a long time until like just recently, really, and even still now, I see in mums groups it doesn't always happen. But honestly, like listening to children is like the most powerful thing you can do because not only are they a mirror for you, but they're actually setting the scene for how they want their own life to look. Like they are separate to you. I think, I don't know, for me, growing up as a millennial, I actually felt like I was meant to be part of my mum and dad's like feelings and thoughts, and I just wasn't. So I never really fit in because I didn't fit into their bubble.
Wow.
Like I don't even know how to explain that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like where like
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to be a separate entity. I had to be like part of that. Which was really, really challenging for my very out there, different kind of brain, because I didn't think anything at all like any of them. And one thing that my daughter says to me often is, "You don't understand, mom." But like I used to say that to my mom, and my mom has said it to me as I've gotten older. "You don't understand, Melissa." And I'm like,
Oh,
enlighten me, tell me what I don't understand. And it's this block of not being aware of what I'm not meant to understand. So then when I'm asking questions, I can't be aware because the first person doesn't understand. Does that make any sense?
yeah, totally. So when your daughter says to you, like, you don't understand Mel, like, let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, shit, she's gonna go to me now. I knew it.
Right, go.
How to like,
Yeah.
let's talk, because like, I'm saying I get rage, I get snappy, I like have to reparent myself too still. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. I get moments where I'm like, shouldn't have said that. Oh I don't know what I say the other day to you on the phone that I was like, I don't know. It's like those videos you see online of like the parents going, the thing I would say when I'm overstimulated. And it's like, I don't know. If you don't put a seatbelt on in the car, you're gonna die. Like we see the worst case scenario when we're stressed.
I remember
But
when
what
my
like
kids were younger and they kept unbuckling the friggin' the 4-point
it's so
harness.
stressful.
And I'd be like, "No, I
Yeah.
have to stop. Oh my God, we're gonna be,"
Oh God.
and they're just babies. I'm like,
Are we
"Oh,
really
you're
healed or we're just crazy? Maybe we're a little crazy. Um, so when our kids come to us and like you can help me with this too, say, for example, I know I've talked about it already, but if my kid comes to me and says, Mum, you can't say this or you don't understand, because my kids sometimes say, you don't understand what I'm talking about. I think you and I've talked about like the grade six t-shirt saga and like how both our sons were like, when's the t-shirt coming? It's never coming. It's never ever coming. And you and I were both like, it's coming. Anyway, so say if my son says to me, Mum, you don't understand,
yeah."
how can I like work through that trigger? Like, what would we do in that moment?
So so I, depending on like the child and the
Mm.
situation, I have in the past let it go and be like, "Yeah, no, I don't understand. Sorry. Sorry, it must be like a millennial thing. Sorry. Move on with my life." Like depending on what it is,
Mm.
I have done that in the
Not
past because
not a
not,
mind reader.
yeah, yeah. Other times though, when they're like, "Mum, you don't understand," and like they visibly need my help, I'm like, "Okay,
Hmm.
help me to understand what, tell me like what you're thinking." And like it'll be
Mm.
this much of the story, which requires a couple of
Hmm.
minutes. But then what they're actually trying to do is tell you like a whole thing that takes like an hour, which is fun. Like I'm here
Hmm.
forever, right? But the thing is though, like you have to be willing to make the time to parent. I think that's the
Mm.
hardest, most like, and I didn't intend for this to be a parenting advice podcast, but at the same time,
Sorry.
no, I feel like it's more so around the fact that it's like, okay, you do every life and everyday life, sorry, every life. You do everyday life
Mm.
and you like are trying to get from here to there, be this, do this, work,
Yeah.
parent, whatever. Like I read an article once and it was like, how much actual present time without tech are you actually spending in a day, a week with your child? And
Yeah.
often the findings are like 5 minutes. And so when your child is saying,
Mm.
I don't understand,
Wow.
you don't understand, what they're actually trying to say is, you're not connecting with me.
You're not listening to me. You're not making
You're not
space
being
to hear what
present
I
with
have to
me.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. you're not being present with me. That's what they're actually trying to say. And that goes back to like my story before when like it's been a generational thing of like, you don't understand me. It's because no one actually wants to be present and connected because the
Yeah.
mother-child
Yeah.
wound is so disjointed and so hurt.
Yeah. That's really heavy and hard for like both of us to have had to work through similar things around that, like being seen and heard or having someone takes time to actually connect with us and listen to us. And like even now in my 40s, I'm still like I don't hold on to it now, but for the longest time I was like, my parents don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
it's
I think
because
that
no
would
one's
be,
taken the time to connect with me.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like it would be very prevalent. Like I wonder if we did like a research paper in like millennial, like women in their 30s and 40s, how
Yeah.
many of them actually think their parents who are boomers think that they like truly know their children. I reckon it would be like a third as a
Mm.
guess. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't think it would be
Yeah.
a high number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we are
I
running
think
out of
so. And look, this is the Oh yeah, we are running out of time. But just to say that, that doesn't mean that you can't have inner child wounds and not learn to connect with your parents now or not, whatever your dynamic looks
yeah.
like
Yeah, that's a
currently.
really good point.
But it
Yeah.
also doesn't mean, because a lot of people will say to me, but I love my parents. You can still love someone and still have been impacted by their behavior or whatever. I'm sure I was a hard teenager to deal with as well. But a lot of the time I reflect on that in my healing process and go, was I though? Or did I just need to be heard? And
Also,
teenagers a lot of the time need to be heard.
yeah, I want to say on that note, you can love
Sorry.
people and still hold strong boundaries. What was that meme that used to go
That's
around
what I
during
think I was
COVID?
trying to get out.
Yeah. What was the meme that was going around? It was like
Mm.
this swearing, I'm about to swear. If you've got children around, maybe shut us off now. It'll be done in 2 minutes anyway. Uh, the meme
Mm.
that was going around was like, you can love somebody and still kindly tell them to fuck off. Do you remember that meme?
Yeah, you can. You can. But you can also still be an adult, like even me as a coach or Mel as a coach, we can be, and this is back to the like imperfect part of healing, is I'm still working on some of these things. I just told my dad a week ago that I don't think he ever has taken the time to actually listen to me or get to know me. I told him that I think his core nervous system response was to always shut me down, that he's actually conditioned himself to do that without taking a time to pause before reacting.
So
And
interesting, isn't
that's like a
it?
powerful part of healing too, that he actually listened to me say that. They they feel a way about it and need some help and support, that is also fine too.